Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and remember, Context is Everything Media Network, founder and CEO, John Michael, coming to you live upon the recording of this, coming to you live with another episode of the Ambient Classroom, episode 56, 57, with reading the textbook cover to cover in order to build my historical context, world history book. We are in the chapter 11 that is about the Muslim world. Yesterday was chapter 11, section 1, which was the rise of Islam, an introduction to Islam. Let's review that, and then let's read the next section, which is Islam spreads. So let's get an overview of the intro of Islam to build our context for today's reading. Let's go. Here are the notes for chapter 11.1. Islam emerged in the Arabian Peninsula, which is mostly desert with farming possible in scattered oases. An oasis is a fertile area in a desert, watered by a natural well or spring. The Prophet Muhammad, born in Mecca around 570 A.D., led an apparently normal life of a merchant until the age of about 40. Muhammad, at the age of 25, married Khadijah, who ran a prosperous caravan business. Muhammad was a devoted father and husband by all accounts. Troubled by the idol worship and the moral ills of society he lived in, he went off to a desert cave to meditate around the age of 40. In his meditation, he heard the voice of God say, "Recite the name of your God, the Creator, who created man from clots of blood." That's what God said. Muhammad interpreted this voice to be the voice of Angel Gabriel, who is the same angel that came to Mary to say, "Mary, you're going to have the Son of God, Jesus." So that's just saying that it's the same Judeo-Christian God and history previous to 570. Okay. Terrified and puzzled, Muhammad, who was an illiterate merchant, accepted the divine call. His wife Khadijah was a strong support to him and was the first convert to Islam. Primary teachings at the dawn of Islam encouraged Arabs to give up their false gods and submit to the one true God, Judeo-Christian God, also Islamic God. Same. Threatened with the threat of murder, Muhammad and his followers fled his hometown of Mecca in 622 and left for Yathrib, which was later renamed Medina, or City of the Prophet, in a journey known as the Hijra, Hijra. In 622 became the first year of the Muslim calendar. That's the year that I kind of ran away from Mecca, 622, the dawn of Muslim Islam. In Medina, Muhammad was welcomed by Muslim converts, not only as the prophet, but also as the ruler and lawgiver. Muslims launched attacks on Meccan caravans and defeated Meccans in battle. That's what the textbook says, Meccans. I've never heard that. That's what the textbook said. In 630, Muhammad returned in triumph to Mecca, where he destroyed the idols in the Kaaba, Kaaba, ancient shrine that is believed to have been built by the biblical prophet Abraham. Muhammad died in 632, 10 years after his exile. The 5 pillars of Islam. There is no God but God. Muhammad is the messenger of God. That's 1. Daily prayer facing the holy city of Mecca is 2. Charity, giving charity to the poor, is 3. Fasting from sunrise to sunset during the holy month of Ramadan is 4. And 5, the Hajj, Hajj, is a pilgrimage to Mecca, which all able-bodied Muslims are expected to do at least once in their lives. The Quran, the Muslim holy text, was written in Arabic, and converts to Islam are expected to learn Arabic in order to read the unfiltered original words. The word jihad is defined as effort in God's service, which includes acts of charity, an inner struggle to achieve spiritual peace, and holy war in defense of Islam. Sharia law was established by Muslim scholars via interpretation of the Quran. In Islamic countries, there is no separation of church and state. In its origin, Islam made the region safer for women by prohibiting the killing of unwanted daughters, as well as guaranteeing women a share of her parents' or husband's inheritance. Okay, that's the review. That's yesterday. That's Chapter 11, Section 1. This is Chapter 11, Section 2. This is actually a cup. But I'm going to read Chapter 11, Section 2, Spread of Islam. That's some good Joe. Islam spreads. Setting the scene. The death of Muhammad plunged his followers into grief. The prophet had been a pious man and a powerful leader. No one else had ever been able to unify Bedouin tribes. Could his legacy survive without him? Abu Bakr, an early convert to Islam, was determined to continue the prophet's work. He sternly told the faithful, "If you worship Muhammad, Muhammad is dead. If you worship God, God is alive." Despite some bitter struggles, Arab unity did not collapse. Inspired by the teachings of the prophet, Arab armies surged across the Byzantine and Persian empires. In a stunningly short time, an Arabic empire reached from the Atlantic to the borders of India. That's a big stretch of land. I wonder how many miles that is from whatever. An age of conquests. Heading, an age of conquests. As the first caliph, caliph, or successor to Muhammad, Abu Bakr faced an immediate crisis. The loyalty of some Arab tribal leaders had been dependent on Muhammad's personal command. They now refused to follow Abu Bakr and withdrew their loyalty to Islam. Abu Bakr succeeded in reuniting the Arabs based first and foremost on their allegiance to Islam. Once reunited, the Arabs set out on a remarkable series of military conquests. Victory to victory. Subheading under an age of conquests. Victory from victory to victory. Under the first four caliphs, Arab armies marched from victory to victory. They conquered great chunks of the Byzantine Empire, including the provinces of Syria and Palestine, with cities of Damascus and Jerusalem. Next, they rapidly demolished the Persian Empire. The Arabs then swept into Egypt. Later, Muslim armies conquered even more land. From Egypt, Muslims dashed west, defeating Byzantine forces across North Africa. In 711, they crossed the Strait of Gibraltar into Spain and pushed north into France. There, in 732, they were defeated at the Battle of Tours. The Muslims' advance into Western Europe was halted. Even so, Muslims would rule parts of Spain for centuries. Elsewhere, Muslims besieged the Byzantine capital of Constantinople, but failed to take the well-defended city. Later waves of conquests would expand Muslim rule farther into the continents of Asia and Africa. Reasons for success. Reasons for success. Why did the Arabs have such an astonishing series of victories? One reason was the weakness of the Byzantine and Persian empires. These longtime rivals had fought each other to exhaustion. Many people in the Fertile Crescent welcomed the Arabs as liberators from harsh Byzantine and Persian rule. Bold, efficient fighting methods also contributed to the Arab success. The Bedouin camel and horse cavalry mounted aggressive and mobile offensives that overwhelmed more traditional armies. I've never seen a camel run, but I'm assuming they did when in battle. Camels running. Can you imagine it? How majestic. Perhaps the key reason for Arab success, however, was the common faith Muhammad had given his people. Islam knitted a patchwork of tribes into a determined, unified state. Belief in Islam, oh my God. Belief in Islam and the certainty of paradise for those who fell in battle spurred the Arab armies to victory. Subheading. Oh, I have sticky notes. Clearly, since I'm yawning, I've not been as attentive as I should be to what I'm reading. I'm going to continue. Treatment of conquered people. The advancing Arabs brought many people under their rule. Muslim leaders imposed a special tax on non-Muslims, but allowed Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians to practice their own faiths and follow their own laws. As Muslim civilization developed, many Jews and Christians played key roles as officials, doctors, translators. In time, many non-Muslim converted to Islam. Many nomadic peoples in North Africa and Central Asia chose Islam immediately. Its message was simple, direct, and they saw its triumph as a sign of God's favor. Moreover, Islam had no religious hierarchy or class of priests in principle. It emphasized the equality of all believers regardless of race, sex, class, or wealth. In later centuries, Turkish and Mongol converts helped spread Islam far across Asia. Muslims in Europe. For centuries after the Battle of Tours, Christian forces fought to conquer Spain. Only in 1492 did they seize the last Muslim stronghold. In the meantime, Spain flourished as a center of Muslim civilization. Muslim rulers in Spain presided over brilliant courts, where the arts and learning thrived. In general, they were more tolerant of other religions than Christian rulers of the time. At centers of learning such as the city of Cordoba, rulers employed Jewish officials to welcome Christian scholars to study science and philosophy. Architects built grand buildings, such as the Alhambra, a fortified palace in Granada. Its lovely gardens reflecting pools and finely decorated marble columns mark a high point of Muslim civilization in Spain. Muslim civilization also thrived in Sicily and other Mediterranean islands seized by Arab forces in the late 800s. Muslim rule lasted briefly, but even after knights from Normandy gained control of Sicily, it remained strongly Arabic in culture. Muslim officials governed the island well, and merchants and farmers helped the economy prosper. Muslim poets philosophers and scientists, enriched courts of Norman kings. Movements within Islam. This is a new heading, movements within Islam. Not long after Muhammad's death, division arose within Islam over his successor. The split between Sunni and Shiite Muslims had a profound impact on later Islamic history. Sunni and Shiite. Subheading. Subheading. The Sunnis felt that the caliph should be chosen by leaders of the Muslim community. Although the Sunni agreed that the caliph should be a pious Muslim, they viewed him simply as a leader, not a religious authority. The Shiites, on the other hand, argued that only true successors to the Prophet were descendants of Muhammad's daughter and son-in-law, Fatima and Ali. Shiites believed that the descendants of the Prophet were divinely inspired. The Sunni believed that inspiration came from the example of Muhammad as recorded by his early followers. Ali became the fourth caliph, but he was assassinated in 661. In a struggle for leadership, later his son, too, was killed. Many of other Shiites died in battle against Sunni, trying to install their candidates as for caliph. Shiites grew to admire martyrdom as demonstrations of their faith. Like the schism between the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Christians, the division between the Sunni and the Shiite Muslims has survived to present day. Members of both branches of Islam believe in the same one God, look to the Quran for guidance, and make the Hajj. But numerous differences have emerged in such areas such as religious practice, law, daily life. Today, about 90% of Muslims are Sunni. Most Shiites live in Iran, Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. Shiite movement itself has split into several different factions. Interesting. Sufi. Subheading. Sufi. A third tradition in Islam emerged with the Sufis, Muslim mystics who sought communion with God through meditation, fasting, and other rituals. Sufis were respected for their piety and miraculous powers. Like Christian monks and nuns, the Sufis helped spread Islam through missionary work. They carried the faith to remote villages where they blended local traditions and beliefs into Muslim culture. Empires of the Caliphs. After the death of Ali and Umayyad, family set up a dynasty that ruled the Islamic world until 750. From their capital in Damascus in Syria, they directed the spectacular conquests that carried Islam from the Atlantic into the Indus Valley. Umayyads. Umayyads. Even as victories expanded the Arab Empire, the Umayyads faced numerous problems. First, they had to adapt from Greek life to ruling large cities, huge territories to govern their empire. The Umayyads often relied on local officials, including educated Jews, Greeks, and Persians. As a result, Byzantine and Persian traditions of government influenced the Arab rulers. While conquests continued, vast wealth flowed into Umayyad hands. When conquests slowed in the 700s, economic tensions increased between wealthy Arabs and those who had less. Many Muslims criticized the court at Damascus for abandoning a simple way of the early caliphs. Shiites hated the Umayyads because they had defeated Ali and killed his sons and dishonored the Prophet's family. Unrest also festered among non-Arab converts to Islam who under the Umayyads had fewer rights than Arabs. And Abbasids, Abbassids, discontented Muslims found a leader in Abu al-Abbas, who captured Damascus in 750. Soon after, one of his generals invited members of the defeated Umayyad family to a banquet and killed them all. Abu al-Abbas then founded the Abbasids dynasty, which lasted until 1258. The Abbasid dynasty ended Arab dominance to help make Islam a truly universal religion. Under the early Abbasids, the empire of the caliphs reached its greatest wealth and power. The Muslim civilization enjoyed a golden age. Splendors of Baghdad. The Abbasids Caliph al-Mansur chose as the site of his new capital to be Baghdad, a small market town in present-day Iraq. "It is excellent military camp," he wrote. "Besides, here is the Tigris to put us in touch with lands as far as China, to bring us all that the seas yield." Under the Abbasids, Baghdad exceeded Constantinople in size and wealth. In Baghdad, Persian tradition strongly influenced Arab life, but Islam remained the religion in Arabic. The language of the empire. Poets, scholars, and philosophers entered from all of the Muslim world flocked to the Abbasid court. Visitors not only felt Baghdad deserved the title of City of Peace, Gift of God, Paradise on Earth. Many gardens dotted the fabulous fountains, gleamed in the sunlight. Above the streets loomed domes and minarets, the slender towers of mosques. Each day, the mosque officials called muezzin, climbed the top of the minaret and called the faithful to prayer. In busy market courtyards, merchants sold goods from Africa, Asia, and Europe. The palace of the caliph echoed with music of flutes, cymbals, tambourines, along with the voices of female singers. The city of Baghdad reached its peak under the reign of Caliph Harun al-Rashid, who ruled from 786 to 809. For centuries, in both Europe and the Muslim world, Harun was admired as a model ruler. He was viewed as a symbol of wealth and splendor. Decline of the Caliphate. New heading. Decline of the Caliphate. Starting in about 850, Abbasid control over the Arab Empire fragmented. In Spain, Egypt, and elsewhere, independent dynasties ruled separate Muslim states. As the caliph's power faded, civil war erupted, and Shiite rulers took parts of the empire. Between 900 and 1400, series of invasions added to the chaos. Seljuks. We spoke about them last chapter. Seljuks. Then in the 900s, Seljuk Turks migrated into the Middle East from Central Asia. They adopted Islam and built a large empire across the Fertile Crescent. By 1055, the Seljuk Sultan, or authority, controlled Baghdad, but he left the Abbasid caliphs as a figurehead. As the Seljuks pushed into Asia Minor, they threatened the Byzantine Empire. Reports of Seljuk interference with Christian pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem led Pope Urban II in 1095 to call for the First Crusade. Crusaders. In 1099, after a long bloody siege, Christian crusaders captured Jerusalem. For 150 years, the city passed back and forth between Muslims and Christians. The Muslim general Salah al-Din, or Saladin, ousted Christians from Jerusalem in 1187. They regained it after his death, holding it until 1244. Christians also ruled few tiny states in Palestine, but they were eventually expelled. In the long term, as you read, the Crusades had a much greater impact on Europe than on Muslim world. Almost there. Mongols. In 1216, Genghis Khan led the Mongols out of Central Asia across Persia and Mesopotamia. Mongol armies returned again and again. In 1258, Hulagu, grandson of Genghis, burned and looted Baghdad, killing the last Abbasid caliph. Later, Mongols adopted Islam. In the late 1300s, another Mongol leader, Timur the Lame, or Tamerlane, led his armies into the Middle East. Though he himself was a Muslim, Tamerlane's ambitions led him to conquer Muslims as well as non-Muslim lands. His victorious armies overran Persia and Mesopotamia before invading Russia and India. Looking ahead. As the 1200s drew to a close, the Arab Empire had fragmented and fallen. Independent Muslim caliphates and states were scattered across North Africa and Spain, while Mongol Khan ruled the Middle East. After 5 centuries of relative unity, the Muslim world was politically divided as the Christian Europe. Even though the empire crumbled, Islam continued to link diverse people across an enormous area that Muslims called the Dar al-Islam, or Abode of Islam. In the future, other great Muslim empires would arise in the Middle East and India. Muslims also benefited from an advanced civilization that had taken root under the Abbasids. In the next section, you will read about the achievements of other Muslim civilizations in art, literature, and other fields of endeavor. Thank you for bearing with me on that. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.